Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of the Daily Debate. My name is Ahmed Nader, and tonight we'll be on President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi directing for more development and the reconstruction of the Sinai Peninsula, as His Excellency today checked up on the equipment that will be used in the reconstruction and the development of Sinai in the Governorate of Ismailiyah. And I'm honored to be having with me over the program for tonight Engineer Hassan, Shabaan, the political, the economic and the agricultural expert. Thank you very much for being with us tonight.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Anytime. First of all, as we did see today, the presidential activities of His Excellency President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, Ismailiyah, the step itself to checking up on the latest in terms of the equipment that will be used through the companies in Sinai for the reconstruction and development of the peninsula. What does this say for the Egyptians?
That we are ready to make the leap and jump that all of us waited for so long to see Sinai develop, actually.
Yes.
And catch up with the new republic on the motherland. Sinai now is not, the army and the police managed to annihilate terrorism completely, and Sinai is ready for the sustainable development that we all long to see in Sinai. Just checking on the equipment and making sure that everybody is aware of how ambitious our president is to see Sinai catch up with the rest of the country in the development program, actually. So I think just being there, checking the equipment and everything will boost the morale of the people, and as usual, whatever takes a long time, it will be cut into half of the time required.
Yes, exactly. One of the more consistent statements made by His Excellency President al-Sisi is that we are in a race against time always, because we should have done those steps years ago, decades ago, and he said that the cost would have been multiplied if we postponed the reconstruction and the development of Sinai. How do you see the importance of time as well, not just the development or taking the steps and taking the decision to be developing this area, but the time as well?
See, we've lost a great deal of time since we got Sinai back after the 1973 war. We neglected Sinai. We did not have the connection with the motherland. We only had one tunnel, the Ahmed Hamdi tunnel in the north of Suez. And at that time, the government thought that that was an achievement. Today, we have at least 6 tunnels, and we have a bridge. It's completely different issue. So I think we've wasted a great deal of time, and we did not have a philosophy or a conceptual design. What are we going to do with Sinai to develop it?
Yes.
We actually managed to develop Sharm el-Sheikh and all of these areas, and still it requires more development, because it could actually accept more development. But the heart of Sinai, Bir el-Abd, Sabha, all of these areas, all the way to Arish and to the west, to the Bardawil Lake, all of these areas are very important areas and have an economical value, and I think each one of these areas will contribute to the development of Sinai. Hopefully, we will have a program that will integrate. I mean, we will touch everything at the same time. The Bardawil Lake is very important for us to develop the lake, and I think we're about to finish dredging the lake and deepening the lake because it was neglected for a long time,
Yes.
and it was affected due to this negligence. So actually we have a natural place for fish. I mean, it's a fishery area, and it's very famous with the types of fish that actually live in the Bardawil Lake. Hopefully, I keep my fingers crossed. I would love to see a tuna factory very close to the Bardawil Lake, because in the east of the Mediterranean, there is a very good chance that that Egypt could become a tuna producing country. In Libya they have a similar factory, and I hope that we could have something like this in Sinai. We have to be creative and have some imagination. When you look at this at Sinai, actually Sinai is the center of gravity geographically between the east and the west of the Middle East.
Yes.
And I think we ought to use this location because it's a very strategic location. I think it could act like a Wall Street of the whole area. We could attract a lot of international banks to have their branches in Sinai. I think also if utilizing the new infrastructure that we are constructing right now, something like the Bahr al-Baqar sewage treatment plant that could produce a lot of fresh water that could be used in Sinai in producing a plant that could close the gap of importing sugar to Egypt, grow stevia.
Yes.
I mean, let's consider growing crops that will block certain gaps.
Decreasing the imports.
Exactly. We could do that, especially with the fact that Egypt occupies the zone 9 and 10, which is very suitable for agriculture. Most of the crops could grow in this particular zone, actually. Also, we have a lot of researches on plantation and agriculture using salt water without really treatment. And
for agriculture. In Sinai.
Right, in Sinai. I think the halophyte plant, which is a Salicornia, the family of this plant, could digest sodium chloride with no big effort.
Yes.
And we could have the largest camel farm in the whole of the Middle East in Sinai, using the expertise of the tribes in Sinai, the Arabs in Sinai, and I think this will be a source of protein instead of just depending on importing camels from abroad, from Sudan, for instance.
Yes.
We could actually have a lot of investment chances, but we need a good program that integrates together. Depend on agriculture as a raw material to produce sugar. So you're going to have an industry next to the agro activities. Also, a very important issue in Sinai, which is the production of salt. Sinai could be #1 worldwide in production of salt.
Yes.
When I'm talking about salt, I'm not talking only about salt as a table salt. No. I'm talking about salt as an industrial material that goes into a lot of industries, and salt itself is like oil. You could break it down and treat it and get out of the raw salt that produced
a specific component that you want.
Exactly. You could get potassium, which is very important, and we lack potassium as a farmer.
Yes.
We need potassium very much in our agriculture. Bromine as a tranquilizer. This could go into medical and pharmaceutical industries. A lot of things could actually take place, but we need, as I said, a program that integrates together. All of this will attract the young people in Egypt to go and look for jobs in Sinai.
Yes.
And I think within a few years you're going to see about 5 million or maybe more relocated to Sinai because you're creating mega projects, industrial, that depends on raw material that you're producing. You're not getting it from outside. A lot of jobs will be created in the area. So I think very soon Sinai will be a place to attract people, and this will help to relocate and redistribute the population in the delta considerably, because you really need to relieve Cairo and the major cities because it's very condensed with the population. So when you create a community in Sinai, a very productive community,
yes.
This will attract a huge number of people.
Yes, Engineer Hassan Shabaan will be heading to the first report of the daily debate for tonight, and it tackles the same statement being released by His Excellency President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, that we are in a fight against time. We are fighting as well against the cost amount of money that is being pumped into Sinai for reconstruction and development, as the cost would be or would have been multiplied. Any postponement for the reconstruction and development of the peninsula. We'll be having more details in the upcoming report, so stay tuned.
President Fattah al-Sisi on Sunday participated in a ceremony marking the lineup of equipment participating in the implementation of the Sinai Development and Reconstruction Plan. Taking place in the Suez Canal Governorate of Ismailia, the ceremony ushers in a leap in state efforts to develop the Sinai Peninsula. In remarks at the ceremony, President al-Sisi said, "Great obstacles have faced state bodies working in Sinai development and reconstruction projects. Now security and stability are restored thanks to the resolve and the unity of Egyptians." The President said that all state bodies are invited to be present in Sinai after the defeat of terrorism, asserting that fellow citizens in Sinai should feel how great are the Egyptian state's development efforts. The President pointed out that Sinai's area is 60,000 square kilometers that needed huge spending to build its infrastructure, asserting that the people should know about the great achievements made so far. President al-Sisi pointed out that the war on terrorism is not over, and the real and full victory depends on the awareness of the Egyptian people. During the ceremony, President al-Sisi honored several distinguished citizens from Sinai in recognition of their achievements. Addressing the event, Prime Minister Mustafa Madbouli described the state's Sinai development projects are fresh crossing into Sinai. Madbouli said that major state projects over the last 30 years had focused on the two projects of East Port Said Port and agricultural land reclamation project based on Salam freshwater canal. However, he explained that these two major projects were not completed due to the persistent obstacles that hindered the fulfillment of sought development. The Prime Minister added that since 2011, Sinai had been plagued with terrorist acts which badly affected development efforts. However, since 2014, President Sisi has launched comprehensive development efforts in the peninsula with focus on infrastructural roads, bridges and access projects to link Sinai to the rest of the country. The Prime Minister said under this vision, investments to the tune of 610 billion Egyptian pounds have been and are being implemented in Sinai. For his part, head of the Armed Forces Engineering Authority Major General Ahmed Al-Azazi said Sinai development is a model approach that inspires resolve and perseverance. Addressing the Sinai development and reconstruction ceremony, Al-Azazi explained that since 2014 the Engineering Authority was tasked with implementing a total of 460 projects in cost of 480 million pounds.
Welcome back. You're still watching the Daily Debate. Engineer Hassan Shabaan, as we did see in the past report, His Excellency President Sisi highlighted a very important point regarding restoring security against terrorism in Sinai in specific, because it was intended to be a center for terrorism hitting and attacking several parts of the world. How do you see the importance of annihilating, as you mentioned, terrorism in Sinai and in Egypt in general?
You see, Sinai was ideal place for terrorism, actually.
Yes.
And the confrontation between our army and the police with the terror groups actually in Sinai was that was really a war against not only terrorism, against ignorance, against radicalism. And, without really annihilating terrorism, it would have been very difficult for us to have a sustainable development for a program for Sinai. Sinai is just a raw place. Actually, we're going to start from scratch in Sinai, and this is what the government actually did. Started New Rafah. And the infrastructure that the government actually made, highways and the bridges and tunnels and everything, with the completion of the Port Said, also a canal to provide fresh water for irrigation in Sinai. All of this will be actually very helpful in the sustainable development program that we're going to have in Sinai. Especially the jumping point is Ismailia, Port Said, and actually Suez. So we started a non-stop trip in Sinai actually.
Yes. And
this is bad news for terrorist actually groups, because as I said, Sinai was an ideal place with the mountains in the northeast part of Sinai, the tunnels that connected Gaza and Sinai. All of this is now blocked or flooded with water, and a new era have started in Sinai. Hopefully, we will be able to classify the land, which land is best for agro activities. As I said, I encourage certain industries in Sinai, fertilizer, because actually you have Balaim a field on the Red Sea, the south of Tur, and using the gas produced along with the oil in this particular area, we could have a fertilizer plant in this particular area, ammonia for agro activities. You know, we have a lot of, you know, subjects that we could discuss, you know, and it concerns the sustainable development in Sinai. We cannot ignore the fact that the east bank of the Suez Canal is also a very important issue in when you come and consider developing Sinai, because you could have a lot of industries in this particular area. Hopefully we will be able to attract some of the international companies, and we will be able to produce our own agro equipment, because till today Egypt lacks the production of agro equipment, the modern equipment. We don't even produce a lawnmower to cut the grass. So
which could be used in gardens,
right,
personal gardens.
We actually lack this particular industry. We need to produce our own agro equipment. I think Sinai will see a lot of these activities very soon.
About 40 or 50 billion dollars will be pumped into Sinai for reconstruction and development. How much of this amount do you think should be targeted for agriculture in Sinai?
Well, I think when we consider agriculture, we should not consider agriculture as an independent issue. Agriculture for what? Agriculture to serve an industry, because you need to use your agriculture or the crops that you're going to produce as a raw material in this for certain industries.
Yes.
So I think you need to be wise when you actually spend money over reclaiming land from the desert. Choose the right crops economically. The return, you see, the duration of any crop is not very long, and this is the advantage that we gain from agriculture. The duration is short.
It goes into cycles.
Right. The cycle is short. So actually what you need plants, as I said, like a stevia plant to produce sugar, which is a material used to replace sugar cane, because sugar cane is a very thirsty for water. Actually,
Yes.
It consumes a lot of water, and though we have two plants in the south, in Said, Naga Hamad and Kumambo, but again you have a sugar production facility in the north, in the Kafr Sheikh and all of these areas. But again, stevia, if you grow stevia, like say, I would love to see 200,000 faddan of stevia grow in Sinai, actually.
Yes.
This will definitely block the gap of importing sugar, because this type of sugar actually is widely used in soda pop, in production, in desserts and so forth. Diabetic patients actually use stevia as a substitute to sugar. So you need actually just to choose the right crops to establish the right industry, and then have the right facilities next to it, and to attract the labor to come and work in these plants and to work in the plantations.
Yes.
So it's an integrated issue to create a community this is a community that you are engineering. It's not, you just don't let it happen like this. You engineer the community.
It's a plan.
It's a plan. So I think Sinai, being a virgin place, actually, it will be very suitable for to apply a sustainable development program, actually. Hopefully, we will be able to achieve this within, I think, 5 years. You will see a completely different image.
Yes, another important point that was raised today is that Sinai is covering about 60,000 square kilometers. On the other hand, the Egyptians, the whole of the Egyptians, about 100 million, maybe more, are living on about 60,000 square kilometers of Egypt. Do you think that developing Sinai, reconstructing Sinai could be attracting and could be having more ambitions for the young citizens to be leaving Ismailia, Sharqiya, going to Sinai for the future?
Definitely. Yeah, even Upper Egypt. You know, Sinai could be a very attractive place should we actually just create the right jobs and construct the right industries and train the young people for these industries and this type of agro.
Yes.
Because definitely you're going to use very modern irrigation systems. Definitely this will help to redistribute the population of Egypt. Hopefully you create enough business chances, and automatically you will see a lot of people just move to the other bank of the Suez Canal and start a new life over there.
President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi today, he praised the courage of the investors, of the contractors, of the companies that are willing to be investing in Sinai, to be working in Sinai despite the hazards and the obstacles and the threats that they have received in the past few years. How do you see the importance as an investor this time, as the private sector, to be courageous as well, to be taking a risk into investing into Sinai? What do they get in return in the future?
Well, the first to launch their activities in Sinai definitely will be the first to harvest the crop.
Yes.
So actually I think it's about time, because actually you do not have the same type of threats that we used to have a few years ago in Sinai. Also, I think the government is paying a lot of attention to create communities for the tribes in Sinai, to establish certain communities in Sinai. This also will help the development, because once you have a small settlements, or if you allow me to use the word settlements,
yes,
it will actually help the redistribution of the population in Sinai, and getting the people who are coming from the motherland to merge with the locals in Sinai, and this will this blend, actually this combination will actually help the new birth of communities in Sinai.
Yes, the leaders of the tribes in Sinai, the tribal leaders in specific there. How do you see the bilateral relations between the political leadership and His Excellency President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi? The whole government is trying to have ways of communication, better ways of communication always between the leaders of the tribes and the government. How do you see this as a fruitful result that we had seen today, to be getting the equipment and going there and starting to work?
Maybe at one time, with the negligence of Sinai, the people in Sinai thought that the government is not paying enough attention to develop Sinai.
Yes.
But as of few years now, since the president actually took the office, I think annihilating terrorism and the cooperation between the tribes and the army created a lot of confidence, actually. And I think the tribes and the head of the tribes in Sinai really realized that the government is very sincere, and they have an eminent target that they will develop Sinai and catch up with this lost time that we've lost a great deal of time, about 30 years of negligence affected Sinai badly. So I think what we see all over Egypt in the field of infrastructure and the construction of new cities and so forth will take place in Sinai. Hopefully we will create industrial communities, agro communities. Hopefully we will be able, as I said, to attract a lot of the international banks and give them facilities, and this will help Sinai to catch up with us.
I had said before that about 40 or 50 billion dollars will be pumped into Sinai for reconstruction and development in general, and I asked specifically about the agriculture, the amount of money that will be pumped, because it only stands at about 453.8 million pounds. Is it enough?
It is quite enough, and I think this is a big number, and I think, as I said, it should be invested in agriculture and to construct and industries next to the areas that we're going to grow certain crops to have, as I said, the sustainable development that we all hope to see. So this is a good budget to start with, because development is a never-ending journey. Actually, you just start developing, and one thing leads to the other, and I think what we see now is just the beginning of the new Sinai.
Yes, about 500 million pounds will be pumped into higher education, as we had seen in the past couple of years, or maybe 3 or 4 years, the establishment of King Salman bin Abdulaziz University there, with 3 branches, Sharm el-Sheikh, At-Tur and Ras Sidr as well. What is the importance of having universities, more universities there, to be focusing on higher education and the education in general in Sinai for now?
Well, definitely education is the gate to success. So actually, if a lot of the youth in Egypt join these universities, this will be a good chance for them to get to know more about Sinai.
Yes.
And once they finish there and they get their degrees, a lot of them will probably consider staying in Sinai after they get their degrees. So I think the distribution of all these universities and faculties all over Sinai and Ras Sidr and in Tur will definitely help in creating new communities for the young people after they graduate.
Yes, Engineer Hassan Shabaan will be heading to the other report of the Daily Debate for tonight, and it comes from the plan that was issued by the Ministry of Development, the Economic Development and Planning for the investment in Sinai. We'll be taking a look regarding this plan for the future of the Sinai Peninsula, and we'll be returning once again to you on the Daily Debate. So stay tuned.
The Ministry of Planning and Economic Development issued a report on the features of investment plan for Sinai development for the fiscal year 2021-2022 as part of continuation of Egypt's efforts to develop every part of the country. The features, directions and priorities of the Sustainable Development Plan and its role in achieving Egypt Vision 2030. Dr. Hala Al-Said, Minister of Planning and Economic Development, confirmed that recent years have witnessed an intensification of efforts to localize sustainable development goals in the governorates to maximize the comparative advantages and set an indicator to determine the comparative and competitive advantage of each governorate. Al-Said stressed that the plan was keen to follow a participatory approach in formulating, implementing, and following up all local development plans and programs to encourage positive participation by the citizen, which comes in line with Egypt's Vision 2030. As Said said, the number of development projects in the Citizens Investment Plan for the Governorate of South Sinai reaches 153 projects with a value of direct public investments estimated at 4.1 billion Egyptian pounds. As Said pointed to the sectoral distribution of targeted public investments, where 1.4 billion Egyptian pounds is directed to housing and slum development, 453.8 Egyptian pounds to agriculture, 593.3 million Egyptian pounds to health, and 370 million Egyptian pounds to local development, and 500 million Egyptian pounds to higher education and scientific research. The most important projects achieved in many sectors, as in the field of higher education, the establishment of Salman bin Abdulaziz University and the establishment of a building for the Faculty of Commerce, Arts, Education and Science, Suez University, and in the field of health, the completion of the construction of the new Al-Tor General Hospital, the completion of development of hospitals in Ras Sidr, St. Catherine and Taba, and the establishment of Abu Rudis General Hospital were among the most important projects. In the field of housing services, the most important projects were the completion of the construction of 9 development clusters, Sharm el-Sheikh Desalination Plant, and the development of slum areas in the Governorate, in addition to Abu Rudis and St. Catherine Desalination Plant and Ras Sidr City Desalination Plant. The ministry's report mentioned the most important projects in the plan of 2021-2022 in South Sinai Governorate in the field of agriculture, which were the completion of the establishment of 15 agricultural clusters, completion of establishment of a research station, and dissemination of modern technologies for greenhouse farmers and production of sugar beet under Egyptian conditions. This is in addition to allocating 65.9 million Egyptian pounds to improve the environment and paving local roads in the governorate with about 83.4 million Egyptian pounds.
Welcome back. You're still watching the Daily Debate. Engineer Hassan Shabaan, the agricultural and the economic expert. How do you assess the plan that was released by the Ministry of Economic Development and planning for the investment for the future in Sinai?
Well, I think it's a step toward, making investments in Egypt a lot easier for investors, actually.
Yes.
Because a lot of investors actually just fled away from Egypt due to the red tape required in Egypt. But I think with the new rules and regulations in Sinai, this will help attract investors.
You think there would be more freedom there?
Yes, and I think it will actually increase, because the name of the game today is how to attract and make life easy for the investors. So, and there is a lot of competition in the area, actually. Who will attract more investors and to do what? And what we require is, as I said, the investors who are looking for sustainable development, actually, permanent development. And I think we all in Egypt understand that we had a difficult time attracting investors due to a lot of problems, especially in Sinai, which was the terrorist activities. But yes, now it's a lot better, and it's almost done. And I think the climate in Sinai is very suitable again for tourism. not only the shore like the Sharm el-Sheikh, but again the mountains and the heart of Sinai is very pleasant. The route of the Holy Family to Egypt, I mean,
yes,
it's being rediscovered, and I think the government is paying a lot of attention to this. I think Sinai will witness a lot of changes within the next few years, and it is well deserved, because Sinai suffered actually a lot since we got it back, since we got Taba.
yes.
But we have certain spots that we could actually start from. As I said, the east bank of the Suez Canal, Kantara, and so forth, all the way to Bir al-Abd and Nakhl, and so forth, all the way to Al-Arish, is a very promising area. Hopefully we will have a well-studied programs for agriculture, choose the right locations, allocate enough water for this agro areas, get out of the the drawers the files for researches that we had in the Ministry of Agriculture, growing on plants on salt water. I think we are very advanced in this, because actually the new thing is you take the gene that helps digesting the sodium chloride from this particular plant, the halophyte, and you can insert it to another plant like rice, like wheat, or whatever.
Yes.
And this will make the crop be able to digest salt water as well. So actually you're creating seeds are suitable for your environment and for your water conditions. Hopefully we will be able to utilize the researches that we had for so long, because we had a lot of researches trapped in drawers, actually, in the research centers in the Ministry of Agriculture.
Yes, and finally, in 2 to 3 minutes, how do you see the importance of the sacrifices made and mentioned by His Excellency President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi regarding the army personnel, the police forces, the judicial system or the judiciary, as well as honoring people from Sinai, the heroes of Sinai today during the ceremony marking the start of the reconstruction and development of the peninsula?
In my opinion, this struggle actually started since 1973.
Yes.
We got Sinai back, but again we didn't really, because actually the negligence actually gave a chance to terrorism to grow, and we woke up suddenly over the fact that terrorism is a monster in Sinai, and we had to face it. I salute all the martyrs, the police and the army sacrifices. Words cannot really pay them what the respect due to them, and we will always remember these sacrifices when we actually have these great projects in Sinai. Without these sacrifices, it would have been impossible to regain Sinai. We regained Sinai with the sacrifices of these heroes, and we pay dearly for it.
Yes, Engineer Hassan Shabaan, the economic and the agricultural expert. Thank you very much for being with us tonight.
Thank you for inviting me. Appreciate it.
Anytime. And this brings us to the end of the daily debate for tonight. I will be leaving you, however, with the latest activities from His Excellency President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, the presidential activities in the upcoming report in the past week. I will be leaving you with the upcoming report. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.
In implementation of the directives of President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi to continue providing humanitarian aid and support to the people of Syria to face the aftermath of the earthquake of the 6th of February 2023, an Egyptian Armed Forces supply ship arrived today at the Latakia port loaded with hundreds of tons of relief aid in solidarity with Syria and its people. President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi received the President of Uzbekistan, Shavkat Mirziyoyev, at the Ittihadiyya Palace. The formal reception ceremony took place and the two anthems were played. A joint statement was issued during the visit. President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi held a joint press conference with the President of Uzbekistan at the Ittihadiyya Palace. President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi met today Sameh Shukri, Minister of Foreign Affairs. Councillor Ahmed Fahmy, the official spokesperson of the Presidency of the Republic, stated that during the meeting, the President was briefed on the most important results of the recent African Union Summit, which concluded earlier this week in Addis Ababa. President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi received a phone call from the Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky as they discussed the latest developments in the Ukrainian arena and the development of the current crisis. During his inspection tour, President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi is briefed on the progress of work in the Axes and Roads projects in Giza Governorate, within the framework of the Comprehensive Road Development Plan in Greater Cairo, which aims to confront the crisis of overpopulation and traffic congestion. The President is following up the efforts to develop the environmental sector, which are based on several axes, the most important of which is reducing pollution, preserving natural resources, as well as encouraging environmental investments and green economic systems. President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi inspects the lineup of the equipment participating in the state's plan to develop Sinai.